Hi, just waiting. Okay, hello everybody. How are you? I hope that you are here with me today. I hope you can be here. I know it's late, 9 o'clock, but I just wanted to make sure that Peter was sleeping before I did my live today because didn't want to be interrupted, that type of stuff. So if you're here, please say hi. I'd love to acknowledge you and tune into your energy and see um, how you're doing. So that would be great. Um, okay, so today I wanted to share with you some tips on how to navigate the energies that are around because there's some pretty intense energies. Um, and a lot of this stuff came through in my automatic writing. So last weekend, when we had our last automatic writing workshop for the month, which the next one is going to start in September, and it's going to be on Tuesdays. Um, anyway, during that, I had a really, a really strong message to protect yourself. So the first thing I wanted to come and tell you is to navigate these energies because there's just so much going around and everybody's just so divided, right? Everybody's so divided, and there's just it just feels as if you can't speak or speak your mind, right? Or say what you're thinking or feeling because you're immediately, if somebody is not agreeing with you, then you are made wrong, right? And you don't want to start into the whole energy thing. My hair is sticking up. Okay, so what came through, it was from Archangel Michael, is to remember to put a bubble of protection around you every day. And also that this is quite needed right now because the energies are so strong and they are so subtle in the way that they're coming in and touching you that a lot of times you don't really realize what is affecting you. So sometimes, especially if you're an empath like me, you absorb the energies of everything, of the collective around you. It doesn't have to be just in your house or the place of work or the places that you're going. It could be your neighborhood. It could be just the nation, right? Wherever you're living, and you start absorbing these energies, and then you feel them inside, and then you're wondering, why am I feeling like this? Why am I feeling low energy? Why am I feeling depressed? Or why am I feeling angry even, right? So you start to wonder where these things are coming from. And a lot of times it's because you are absorbing what the collective is feeling. And because the collective right now is feeling so separated, so divided, and so much anger, we need to understand where that's coming from, right? So when you see people who are really fired up to let you know their position, their views, or they're really upset at something, where is that coming from? It's coming from fear, right? It's their own fear. They have this innate fear of something, right? And they need to vocalize it. And the anger comes when they're not feeling heard, right? So think of a child, right? You think of a child who's acting out, of course, teacher here, 15 years. A child is acting out. Why is the child acting out? They need attention. And why do they need attention? Obviously because they're not getting it, right? And the only way they know to get it is to act out and do something that is disruptive. And then obviously they get the attention, and then that's a good thing for them because someone is paying attention to them and listening to them, right? So this is kind of like how the collective is happening right now, and this is what you see all of this fights and disruptions and divisions all over the place is because people don't feel heard. They don't know where to go to find somebody that feels like them and that they just feel heard, right? So having compassion for that so that you understand where it's coming from, as opposed to feeling their anger or their fears and then you reacting to it. So what came through from Archangel Michael was, because we're empaths, because we're feeling so much, when you see something on the news, on the TV, on your feed, right? And this came really clear to do this first thing in the morning before you even pick up your phone. I mean, those were the words that I heard. Before you pick up your phone, put up a layer of protection, a bubble of protection around you to protect yourself from absorbing the collective's energy that is really not yours. So say hi if you're here, because I see a couple of people, so just say hi so I can say hi to you. Okay, so number one, if you're feeling like down or upset, or like you are firing up and then you're like thinking, why did I do that, or why am I feeling this way, and what's going on with me, the first thing you need to ask is, who does this belong to? Or is this mine, right? Ask that. And some of you who've never heard of this before, or who've never used it before, are going to feel like, yeah, like what is that going to do? Well, what it does is, when you say that, right, when you mention this out loud, and you say, who does this belong to, or is this mine? And you don't have to look for an answer, you just say it, right? If it feels light, then it just goes away. Like if it's not yours, it goes away and you feel light, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what happened? And this actually has happened to me. Like I've actually felt that happen. This happened to me during the elections, that I was feeling like really down, really like I had no energy. All I wanted to do was like lay down on the couch at like 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, what is going on with me? What's wrong with me, right? You always want to put the blame on yourself. Then I realized, oh my gosh, it's the elections. That's like in 2 days. And I was feeling the energies of the collective, right? Of the whole nation, of the whole, this and that, and this one and that one, and the whole division, and that tension that was brewing before the actual election. And then when I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's what it is. Who does this belong to? This is mine? Is this mine? And immediately, I felt it off my chest, and I felt myself have that energy again. And I was able to feel like me, right? So this really does work. Just ask, right? Who does this belong to? Or you can ask, is this mine, right? So that's number one, if you're feeling that way. So number two is to put a bubble of protection around you. And this is how you do it. You can do it out loud, or you can do it in your mind. Now, I used to do this when I first moved to Philly. I had a job, and it was in our school, obviously, and it was kind of like a toxic place because of the people in power, or the people who are like in charge, were kind of toxic to most of the staff. And people would tell me this, and it didn't really happen much to me, so I didn't understand what they were talking about. But then sometimes I would like see it happening, or it would come to me, and I was like, oh, that's what it is. Now the school I was at was in Philly, and it was a tough neighborhood, and it was different from where I had come from, and so it was difficult in terms of discipline, because there were a lot of kids who were like just fighting and anger. They had a lot of anger with each other, right? So I started doing this thing, and this is like, how many years? Like 10 years ago, right? I started going into my building. I would drive to work. I would walk into my building, and as I would walk, my classroom was in the 3rd floor. I would start going up the steps, and I would say, please give me some protection today. And I would feel this like bubble, like go around my body and like close up underneath my feet, and I would like envision that, see it happen, and then I would say thank you, and then I would hear you're welcome. Now I heard all of this in my head, right? It's like my own thoughts, and my day would go really well. And I did this every day, and then once in a while, I would have a day in which things were off, meaning, I would either have a fight in the classroom, or somebody would say something to me that would make me stress, stressful, or something that would not make me feel well, right? And something like that would happen, and after it would happen, like with the interaction would happen, and I had time for myself, I would remember, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't put the bubble of protection around me. And then I would laugh because I'm like, oh my gosh, it actually is working. And this is really interesting because I have no idea where this idea of putting a bubble of protection came to me back then, um, because I hadn't been into my whole awakening and tuning into myself, right? But I just had this thought, I'm going to do this, and I would do it as a fun thing, and then it would happen. And then I was like, oh my gosh, it actually worked. And I would laugh at the fact that it had worked and that I have forgotten, right? And every time I would forget, I would be reminded that I've forgotten to ask for help because something would go wrong. I would have a tough day at work. So very interesting, right? And like everything coming together, that this story was shown to me to share with you, to show you how it actually works, and to show me that I have actually used it many times without even knowing that I was using it. So okay, so that's that. And so that's what you do. You ask, and you ask whomever you work with, right? Is it God? Is it your angels? Is it your spirit guides? Who is it, right? Whomever it is, it could be all of them. And you just ask, please give me a layer of protection or a bubble of protection, and then you envision, and I did this in my mind, I wasn't saying this out loud either, so it works either way. And I would just envision like this transparent bubble coming around me and going to the bottom of my feet and closing the bubble, right? So it's like a real bubble where you are inside this energy of protection. And what that does is it lessens anything, any energy, any negative energy that's coming towards you. So if you're reading something that is upsetting or triggering for you, it won't trigger you as much. You'll be able to see it from a different point of view, of with calm and ease, knowing that this is kind of like there and I'm here, kind of like the separation of that energy. It also, since if somebody's doing something towards you, it just stops it and returns it to sender, like a bounce. It bounces back to the sender. So that also helps you a lot because you don't absorb it. You don't absorb that energy, and then you don't feel drained. You don't feel drained and low and down because the energy is not able to affect you, to affect your energy. You're still able to see what happens. You're still able to experience it. You're still able to participate if you choose to. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't affect you negatively, right? And that's what you want. So what they told me, and this, like I said again, if you came in a little bit later, I got this message on last weekend during our last automatic writing workshop, was that to put on a bubble of protection every day, every morning, as you wake up, before you even pick up your phone. And they were very specific about that, because sometimes you'll see something or read something and the message is very subtle in terms that you don't think much of it, especially because right now we've gotten so many bad news about everything, that it's kind of like we're desynthesized, right? Like we don't really feel them as much as at the beginning, right? Or as at the first time that you heard or saw something like that. So when you see something, you kind of don't think much about it, but that message or that energy stays in your subconscious and it starts to, revolve in your subconscious. That's the little bad voice that starts to making you feel small or afraid or scared, right? So those are the energies that continue to revolve in the background, and you don't even know that it's happening, and then all of a sudden you feel drained or you feel sad or down and you don't know why. And that's because you've just absorbed that energy from that message that you read or heard or saw, right? So this is why they said specifically to put a bubble of protection as soon as you wake up. So you wake up, you open your eyes, and then the first thing is, oh, thank you, please give me a layer of protection, and envision that bubble coming around and protecting you I always say thank you. I hear that you're welcome in my head. You might start hearing it as well if you do this often, which they did say you should do this every day to protect yourself from what's coming, right? And what's going on right now. So that's two things, right? So the number one is if you're already feeling down, if you're already feeling low energy, lethargic, or even depressed or angry or something that you know it's not you, the first thing is ask, is this mine? Or who does this belong to? And you can ask that several times, right? So sometimes if you're feeling angry and you know inside, oh my gosh, why am I so triggered? Why am I so angry? You ask it several times. Is this mine? 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 It's not mine. That's kind of how it works, right? You say it. At the beginning, you're like so angry, you're just saying it, and you're not really believing anything's happening, but you're sending it out to whomever is sending it, whomever you absorbed it from, and then the more you say it, the more it goes out until it actually clicks. It's like, oh, and then all of a sudden you feel light, and you're like, huh, it wasn't mine, right? And then, so that's to clear yourself. Number two is to protect yourself, right? To put that layer of protection first thing in the morning. Now, you can also add a layer of protection throughout the day. Let's say you are exposed to a lot of negativity throughout your day. You can just do it again just to reinforce it, just so that you feel protected again, so that you put the intention in that moment, because sometimes we forget that we are protected. So sometimes if you're seeing something else that is still kind of strong for you, in terms of triggering you, then you can just do it again, right? And remember that your angels, your guardian angels, your guides, everybody, they're always there, just there, ready to help you, but they're not going to help you unless you ask for their help, right? You need to ask, and then they jump in to help you. Okay, so that's that. Then centering, right? What does that mean, centering? Centering means going back to your center heart, right? And that is connecting with your soul, your own heart, and your own knowing. You know when you're like, you know you should do something, but you don't do it? Or you know you shouldn't do something, and you do it anyway? And then whatever you knew was going to happen happens, and then you're like, oh yeah, I knew I should have done that, right? And that knowing, to follow that knowing, center, get back into yourself, into what it is that you really know, right? What is the truth for you, right? All these people are telling you different things about different things, and how does that sit for you, right? Does this sound true for you, or is this against what you truly believe inside? Are you being dissuaded by whatever's happening around you because so many people are doing it or saying it? Are you feeling afraid of feeling what you know inside? Right? So getting back to center, that's really important, because we all have this really strong knowing. We know, that's called like the intuition. That's like your gut feeling, right? And it always comes first thing. So if somebody says to you something, for example, oh, let's eat this fried chicken, and you know that how delicious that feels in your mouth, and but you also know how it's going to feel like a bomb at the bottom of your stomach later because it's just too heavy in grease. I'm just making this up, right? Like, just giving you an example. And you're like, and then as soon as the person mentions it to you, let's do that, and the first thought or feeling that you get is like, oh, I'm going to get that heavy feeling in my belly. And then you start thinking, oh, but that will taste so good. Yeah, let's do it, right? Are you being dissuaded to do something that you inside know is not true for you, is not the best for you, right? So get back to that, to start listening to that gut feeling, to that first intuition feeling thought that you get whenever something happens, it's said, or is being asked of you, right? What is it that you know within you? Because you know the truth for you. No one else knows the truth for you, what's true for you, which means what is the best thing for you, your body, your soul, right? So ask that question to get back to center. You can also ground. So every time or do a meditation, even here when we do our live monthly healings, I start by grounding, right? So grounding is when you just, this is how I do it, right? You imagine a golden cord coming from the center of the earth and coming until it reaches your feet, and then going through your body, through your center body, and then connecting with divine light or divine beings or whatever it is that you're believing up there, and then feeling grounded, meaning like rooted, as if that cord from the center of the earth is attaching you, your body, your actual three-dimensional body, to the earth, so that you feel grounded. And that's important because you receive your messages in your body. When you are out there dreaming, you're not in your body. You're not really feeling that. So to get that gut feeling of like, I should do this or I should not, or this is true for me or this is not, or this sounds like a lie to me, like it's not true for me. Not that it's a lie, but it's a lie for me. Like eating the fried chicken for you might, it may not make the other person sick, but it might make you sick, right? So it's that something's true for you, right? So center and tune into that gut feeling and go with that, right? So the more you tune into your own knowing, what you're feeling inside that is true for you, and this is really important because we have been accustomed to go with the masses in terms of being accepted, right? You want to be accepted, so you want to do what everybody else is doing so that you feel like you're a part of it. Nobody wants to be out of the team. Everybody wants to be in the team, right? But what happens is that because we're so used to doing that, sometimes people who know how we work, right? How the human beings work in wanting to be a part of something, they use this to send us messages that they want us to do. So they try to convince people to do something so that everybody is part of that, and then you start feeling like you want to be a part of that as well because you don't want to be outside of the team, right? So that is part of like wanting to be there, but is that true for you, right? So if you tune into yourself, is it true for you? Then these other things, peer pressure, right? That's what it is. Peer pressure is not going to be as strong in allowing you to make the decisions that are not really the best for you, right? So tune into what is best for you, and then when you have that, then it's easier for you to stand tall into whatever decision of whatever it is that you want to do. Whatever you have decided. So I'll give you an example. For example, with me, and I decided not to eat any dairy, right? And people will say, "Oh, just a little bit. It's not gonna what is the difference with I know what dairy does for me, right? So, and I know how it makes me feel. It may not make the other people feel that way, but I know how it makes me feel, right? So if I tune in, really in with me, what is true for me, this dairy stuff is not going to make me feel well, then I can really decline that type of food from someone who's trying to be nice and give it to me, thinking that I'm going to miss out on something, and just be firm in my own knowing, because I know that's gonna make me feel sick, right? So why would I want to, I don't want to please you and say yes to this beautiful dessert you just brought me that's made with dairy, because I know inside my body's telling me you're going to spend the next 2 hours in the bathroom if I'm not feeling very well either, if you accept that. So why would I want to please others because everybody else is eating it if I know that for me it's not going to be good? Hope that's making sense. Put me a comment in there or something to let me know that this is making sense to you, or if it's helping you. Okay, and the last point for this on navigating these energies is love, right? So love, this is one of this is my one of my highest energies, connections that I have to love is to be able to see everyone through the eyes of love, because you are a divine being. Therefore, you were made from love. You came from love. You are divine. You are all love, right? And we tend to forget that. We tend to forget who we really are. But I mean, if you see anybody, anything that's happening, even as upset or as different from you than they are, if you look into their eyes and you see the real soul in those eyes, you see that they're also love, right? You can just calm anyone down by just really tuning into that love, accepting them for who they are and giving them that love. And then once they feel seen and received, then everything comes down, right? So imagine if we were able to, number one, be protected from everything and be centered, feeling really like we are in our own truth. And then from there, using the highest power there is, the power of love, to spread that, right? And once you give love, then that person comes down, and he comes down to meet you because they're remembering who they are, right? So, for example, my child, right? He can have a tantrum, and of course I love him. And at that moment, it's not that he forgets that I love him, but he's so much into his own anger of whatever's happening for him, because he's not feeling seen or heard. And so when I look at him and I bring him over to give him a hug and to reassure him that he is loved, then what happens to this tension, right? What happens to a child when that happens, when you accept them and hug them and give them that, right? What happens? They melt, right? They melt in your arms. Everyone is the same. It doesn't matter if you're 100 years old, 50 years old, 20 years old. Everyone is the same. You give someone love and they melt in your arms. They just melt. And then you can start seeing eye to eye. Then you can start understanding, because everyone wants the same thing. Everyone wants to be seen, to be loved, to be understood. Everyone wants that, right? To be a part of something that is lovely. Nobody wants to be a part of, let's say, a war where everybody's fighting each other, right? Even the people who are fighting right now in the streets for whatever rights that they're going to be heard and be seen, even they don't want to be in a fight. They just want to be seen, heard, understood, right? You give them a hug, virtual hug. You see them and you send them love, and then that whole thing, that whole anger of energy just dissipates, right? So those are the three things that came during automatic writing for navigating these times. It's going to get a little bit more difficult, a little bit more tricky in terms of navigating if you don't have the tools and you're not sure what to do, because things are going to continue to happen that are going to be harder to understand, to navigate, and to be able to live with ease, right? So how do you do that? Right? You get the tools and you use them. And this whole week, during my automatic writing, these messages have been coming through, and it was very clear to me that I had to share with you guys, with my community, because I know that you can use them, and I know that these are things that are very easy to do and that actually work. So if you're thinking or feeling like, if you've never done anything like this before and your thinking is, just talk, just try it, because I have done it and I have seen the difference, so, of using the tools and not using the tools, right? So now I wake up and I do my bubble of protection, right? And when I do feel low or down, I do ask, is this mine, right? Don't forget that a lot of us, especially if you're in the healing business, you know this, and we just tend to forget. We just tend to forget what tools we have, right? Because there's so much in our head, like we don't really know like what to do. So very simple, right? Ask, is this mine? 2, put a bubble of protection around you, seal it, right? And 3, center it, right? Center, go back to yourself, to what is it that you really feel is good and true for you, and then send love. Send love to whatever, whomever is giving you some type of trigger, or that you're feeling that is something that you don't agree with. Send love to it, and it will dissipate for you, right? It's one person at a time. And once you feel centered and loved and at ease, what happens? What happens is that you radiate that energy to those around you, and not just those around you in your house or in your place of work, but blocks and blocks and blocks of people, because your energy is that big and that powerful. So you start to help those around you, and then this is how you start to help the energies dissipate and become calmer and more loving and more peaceful. Okay, does you have any questions? Let me know. Nobody's posting anything, so it's kind of funny to me. I hope that I'm not missing anything. It doesn't say anything if there's any comments here, but if there are comments, I cannot see them. So, but I hope that this is making sense for you. I hope that you can use these tools, because they're very powerful and they really, really do work. All right, guys. So I will probably go now. I just wanted to give you those messages. If you have any questions, let me know. And I will see you next time. Oh, don't forget, if you want to join Angelic Automatic Writing for next month, we're going to start, I believe it's September 7th, which is a Tuesday, and it's three meetings for the same price of one. If you join at the beginning, you can join the other 2 without needing to join again. So it's a better deal if you start at the beginning. If you have the time and you want to try that, it's really, really a great way to connect with yourself and see those messages in a tangible way, which means writing, right? You see the words written of your messages that you're receiving, so that's great. Also, Dream Weaving School starting again in September. It is really fabulous. I actually changed the name to Dream Weaving University, because the results that you get in there are really top of the line and just amazing. I mean, the calm, the connections, and the things that you're able to do once you go through this course is really pretty much amazing. And I just giving you all that love and all of the tools that you can get, so that you can really get rid of any trauma or anything that's getting you stuck or unable to move through. And I give you the tools for that, and we work together, like holding your hand step by step. It's very, very catered to you. It's almost like having a private session all the way through your journey, because that's really how it is. Like, the messages that come through are specific to what you're going through at the moment and how to move through them. So it's very, very specific. It changes with each client, with each person that joins. It changes in terms of what kind of things we need to work on and what kind of tools you need to use for the next week before I see you again. It just changes because we're all different, and we all have different things that we need to learn, and things that we need to clear, and different gifts that we have to use if you chose to do that. So if you want to do any of those things, just send me a message and I'll give you more information, or you can just go on my website, because I just finished it and I'm so excited and proud of it because I did it myself. It is healingthroughyou.com. So check it out and let me know how you like it. Thank you. Bye, guys.